So good evening, and nice to meet you, Heather. I know Eleanor and Kathy and Nancy a little bit from here and there, and it would be nice just to hear a little introduction from each of you, so you can hear from each other, and we'll spin a narrative together. I'll maybe show you some content, and we can talk to each other. You can ask me any questions. You can share. You can ponder, reflect, challenge even. So yeah, I was just thinking before we came on air, as it were, that this is a journey that I'm beginning that has to be taken breath by breath. And there's a tendency to maybe be excited or over ambitious. All sorts of other voices can come in, and I was just saying to myself, if you're going to do this, you're going to do it breath by breath. And that kind of takes some of the pressure off, because it just stays with the real in the now. So let's begin step by step and hear from each person. Particularly curious to hear from those who I've not spoken to before about the work. I've spoken a bit with Nancy in the workshop we did together a while ago, and I've spoken a bit with Eleanor, but not at all with Heather and not at all with Kathy. So Eleanor and Nancy, there may be some stuff that is not new to you, but it always comes out different. So perhaps Heather, you'd like to introduce yourself more fully.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, where to start? Thank you so much, Jenny. In your email, actually, you recognised, I think, what I was trying to convey in my introductory paragraph to you, which was, yeah, I'm at a pause. I'm trying to read signals. So yeah, it was lovely to have it recognised, and I'm feeling a kind of stripping back of things in my life and a new direction arising. And this work, I feel a spark as I find out about it. It feels alive for me. So I guess that's why I'm here, to find out more. It raises questions for me and possibilities around both its value for myself, and its value therapeutically, amongst other things. And yeah, as I've listened to you sing, I felt deeply moved and a desire to respond with my voice. You know, it touches those parts that make my voice want to come out. And I think for me, voice is key to my vitality, my flow, my creativity in life, and it's bi-directional. You know, having a cold this week and retreating and going quiet, it really brought that home. That kind of yeah, that relationship. Yeah, I probably have many more thoughts, but that's okay as
That's
well.
a lovely
Yeah.
flavor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Um, Kathy, would you like to?
Okay. Since we last met, which was, as you say, some years ago, the all sorts of things have happened to me and have been culminating in which have been extremely stressful, and however, both health and all sorts of health issues, and it's followed the whole gamut: physical, mental, and spiritual. And I'm coming out the other side now. I'm coming out with the idea that it's getting confirmed that I'm becoming a healer. I have been more recently in this last year following a lady called Barbara Brennan, I don't know if any of you have heard of her. Yeah, you got a bit there. Okay. And I'm currently getting through at quite some speed through, in my way, I am actually currently working with a Brennan healer, but very on and off. I've kind of done a lot of it myself without the Brennan work, but I'm now following that. And a lot of the Brennan work is talking about vibrational sound stuff to get in touch with your chakras and all the rest. And I would like to progress that side of me. The issues that I've had physically have meant that I'm not particularly physically fit. I can walk better now, but I still have a lot to do within my lungs, and I would like to get them going, as well as using it for the Brennan work, but also self-expression. I've always been more than able to just go with stuff, and it has been quite a long time now, but I happened to see some posts that you put up on Facebook and thought, yes, that's for me. And then quite recently up come your posts about the virtual Tai Chi. So the whatever Tai Chi. What are you calling it? Vocal Tai Chi. That's it. And I thought, yes, that's for me. Let's try it.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Who would like to go? Nancy?
Hello. Yeah, I came across your work, Jenny, as you know, one, because I had this very irrational fear of my own voice for many years. So I've been spending the last 2 or 3 years working on having presence and being comfortable with my own voice. And parallel to that, I was, for many years, I've been looking at studying meditation to ground myself. And this voice and body work is something that I feel like I need to work on. And what really resonated with me in the last video recording was about how being centered and grounded, you can have the truth come out, whether it's your own truth or others' truth. And I feel like it's a practice I need to cultivate for myself. And it's also a question for me whether or not it's something that I use to teach others. I'm not, a singer. I'm not a vocal artist. I'm not in the music world at all. But I do feel that I have something to offer. And I do feel that I need to have a practice that deeply grounds me. And having done, yoga, which is more of the movement stuff for many years, and sitting meditation, all different types of meditation, there's something about working with the voice that has a profound shift in energy and a grounding energy and a channeling thing. And that's something I feel like I need to cultivate more of to enable me to do more of what I'm doing, whatever that may be. And it was quite nice to see that you're able to offer multiple options in the workshop, because I was quite fearful about the commitment to become a teacher and to be certified to do this and not actually go through with it. And it's still that kind of exploration of what is right. So it's quite nice to know that there's multiple options to kind of figure step-by-step approach of what is the right practice for me by trial and error in a way to see the fit. So that's kind of where I'm at with this apprenticeship and learning from you, Jenny. I think having, experienced what you did and gone through the workshop, it did have a very, very profound effect for many weeks. And to be able to tap into that on a regular basis is quite healthy. And I know that my soul needs it.
Thank you. Yes, that business of the different levels. We'll get on to talking about that once we've heard from Eleanor. Thank you for an initial share, Nancy. Thank you. I hear you. Eleanor, would you like to?
She might be frozen.
Oh,
Hmm.
Eleanor, are you there?
Yeah.
I think, are you there? I think your image has got stuck. Do you want to go out and come back in, maybe? Oh, that's a frustration.
Or sometimes turning off the camera helps with the bandwidth.
Am I?
Can't hear you. And your image is frozen. Thought she was having a long, silent meditation, and that I was interrupting her. And then it's like, is that meditation or is she frozen? Yeah, I think she'll go out and come in again. Mm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Trying to not share with Eleanor out of the room. But I really do want to respond to what you said, but let's just carry on here. Here we go. She's coming.
Okay, am I back?
You are.
Sorry about that. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I think I just want to speak to where I am kind of nowish, really. So so I've touched into Jenny's work kind of now and again over a few years, really, and done loads of vocal improvisation over the last few years. And I guess part of the attraction of the apprenticeship for me is about wanting more of a structure to that, wanting a bit more discipline, if you like, a bit more of a practice around it, a bit something, yeah, a little bit more structure. And that's, I suppose, more direction in a way. And that's for myself. And but also there's a very open and alive question for me about wanting to share vocal improvisation with other people, and how I might do that, and what will sit naturally with me and my process in doing that. What I don't, clearly not feeling very articulate this evening, but you know, what's my way? What is my way of doing that? How? And the apprenticeship to me seems to be a way of exploring different ways of being with other people, supporting other people in finding their truth, if you like, in working with voice and body together. I mean, that's, you know, not seeing them as separate things, I think, is really important to me, that voice and body and who we are, that the voice is who we are, really, or expressive of who we are. Yeah, and I suppose for me, yeah, I see it as a way of exploring how do I want to be with other people in this process? How do I want to support other people in this process? And also, yeah, as I said, finding something that feels a bit more of a solid practice for myself as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, there's a lot there, and as there was in everybody's I mean, if we'd stopped and just sort of had chats one-to-one, each one would have taken 20 minutes, just to get to, so I've just whipped round, as it were, so that everybody's in the room and you've heard each other's voices, and to kind of see some mirrors and see some interesting contrasts as to where people are at. And do feel free to ask each other across me, if you like, there's something that you said that was interesting to me, and that can also be part of the conversation. So trying to kind of separate the hierarchy out and make it more of a shared. So just on a couple of things about the structure of the apprenticeship, I've been kind of percolating a bit more about how we can sort of texture it a bit more, and some new elements have come up in the last 2 weeks, even in the last 2 days. So if you go on the page, you'll see new stuff that wasn't there a little while ago. And there are 3 new levels, really. One is group work only participant, which I think is what you're referring to, Nancy, where you can come and join in with the afternoon sessions as one of the members of the group. And you can do that, on a sort of session basis, more or less. I've got a few little structures about how to commit within that. But I mean, like, there are a whole strata of people who've worked with me before who don't feel they want to do the apprenticeship, but who are kind of like, oh, I'd love to come to a couple of sessions, And somebody's wrote to me today and said, I'd love to just come to a workshop. And I think I can combine those people in with the apprenticeship cohort for several reasons. Although it might sound at first, I'm thinking about is that a boundary issue? You've got a group of people who are going through a long journey together. Should they remain sort of hermetically sealed as a group, or can they take people coming in and going out as part of a kind of a churn and a sort of a life wave that is enriching, and in freshening up in a way somehow as well. So you're getting new energies coming in and going out, which I think would keep people on their toes, keep the dynamics moving. I think there's all sorts of things about it, breaking up small cliques that may start to form, thinking about group dynamics, and how you can just sort of disrupt certain things in a positive way when you have new people who just drop in for 2 sessions. And I think that could also present us with a really good, healthy flow of external and internal conversations between those people who are committed to do the apprenticeship and those people who are maybe like what Nancy's feeling at the moment. And you can speak to this if you want, Nancy. I'm not sure I'm right at that point where I want to go for full on, but I definitely need this in my life on some level. And this may be the middle way for that. So there is this thing called group work only participant, which turns out to be GWOP, which was quite nice. I have been playing with the GWOPS, and the group work only participants come for the afternoon sessions and participate in the group, but they can't participate in the individual sessions in the evening. That's not the invitation. However, there is an alternative invitation, which is they can come and observe in the evening. If you want to come and learn by watching and learn by listening, you can come and observe the evening sessions, which are more structured around individual one-to-ones moving through the group. So there's an application now for GWOPS, and there's an application for observers. Yeah, or I'm just about to do the application for the observers. Yeah, I haven't done it yet, but it's coming. And it's just really so I can see who wants to come when and start charting out a form, because I don't think we can have like 10 new people on one day. So it's going to have to be, if there's some kind of bottleneck where everybody wants to come on Sunday afternoon, we'll have to spread them out and negotiate. And there's only think 2 or 3 people maybe is enough maximum for GWOPS per session, but then observers, maybe 2 or 3 people as well. So I mean, just keeping it intimate, but just allowing that churn and that fresh life and that fresh blood coming in from other people, I think is a healthy thing. So that's a kind of a nuanced development of the form of the apprenticeship. And there's one other level while we're talking about that, which is also to invite, and this might also be something that you might be interested in, Nancy, given that you've indicated you're not quite ready for the whole shebang yet, which is to find volunteer practice clients. So the apprentices can work with volunteers who are either friends of theirs or who are just on a list that we have because people have volunteered. I would love to be a volunteer practice client. There's no money exchanges hands on this. The apprentice does it for free. The practice client offers their time for free. You just find ways of getting together, and you just sort of put your voice and body in the hands of the apprentice on the understanding that it's a practice session, and you go through, and I think I've suggested that the minimum would be like 2 sessions, that each apprentice would find one practice client and do a minimum of 2 sessions with them during the course of the 4 months, and then bring that client into the 3rd module and do a session in front of me with your practice client and maybe a few other apprentices, so you've got a little bit of a sense of it's an occasion, it's part of your certification kind of thing. So you will do your 1 session with your practice client as part of the 3rd module, having done at least 2 preparatory private sessions with them in earlier weeks running up to that July module. So you can now apply to be a practice client, which is just something you'll do because you'll get an interesting exchange with an apprentice. You'll be able to practice your voice. It's not professional, but it's an opportunity to experience a taste of the work, or however you want to describe it, for practice client attraction. I haven't quite got the language yet, but you see where it's going. So you've got these 3 new layers. You've got the GWOPS, who are group work only participants who come to a maximum of 4 sessions per module, and there are 5 in total, and a minimum of 2 sessions per module. So it's not just a hit and run. You have to come twice, so to commit to 2. You can go a maximum of 4. You can't kind of sort of do the whole lot, because I think that then becomes, edging towards being an apprentice. You think you have to miss at least 1. So that was my sort of boundary on it. Come for 2 or up to 4 per module for the GWOPS, the group work only participants. And if you go into the application form, you can find all the details about that now. And then the observers, who are welcome to come either for the afternoon or for the evening, no fee for that, just come. And then the practice clients, and they ideally need to be living close to each apprentice. I'm going to do a little spiel about find your own practice clients and then tell them to apply, so that we have the list. And then you can say in the application, I have a particular apprentice that I already have agreed to work with, and you can name that apprentice. Or you can say, please match me with an apprentice. So you've got your choice there. So you either do it as a general or as a specific application. So there's a whole new sort of stratas coming through there, which I do think starts to flesh out a bit more of the structure. Any questions on all that? Just before, or responses? Doesn't even need to be a question.
just a response really for me that really works for me. And in fact, it kind of reminds me of when I was, a trained social worker and in working towards my licensed clinical social work therapy license. And that's kind of what we had to do. A lot of practice, learning, applied learning, and having group work, and also when you're not quite ready to commit, you do some of the work first so you can embody it before you commit fully. So I think for me personally, being an observer and workshop participant at this stage works for me, because I haven't been to very many of your workshops. I haven't done much body voice work because I'm still working on my own fear of my own voice. So yeah, it doesn't make sense for me to go for a full apprenticeship and try to, be the type of person to apply certification at this stage of my personal life. Yeah. But it's definitely something that I think the way it's structured now really allows the option to go for the full certification after having had a little bit more exposure to the work and embody it, because it's so important in any type of healing practice. If you can't embody it, then how can you transmit or teach the teaching? And if you personally aren't ready, and that's where I know I'm at.
Perfect. Yeah, Eleanor.
That just brings up a thought for me, just something to drop in around, because when I have worked with you, Jenny, I found basically a much bigger voice than I experience myself as having most of the time. And I'm just interested, I'd be interested to hear you speak to how much of what you do is actually transmission. What's your sense of what's transmission and what is, I don't know what else to call it really. How much is coming through who you are and how you are, and how much is coming through the words you use or the ideas or something like that. I don't know.
It's such a great question. I would ask you to answer it for me in a way. What do you experience in terms of that relationship between transmission and, if you like, technique or something like that?
Well, I suppose what I'm really saying is that the only way I can explain the mystery of why I stand in your loft and have this enormous voice is that it is about well, not just transmission, but the kind of space that you're able to hold somehow. And I don't know whether that's something you create consciously or whether that's something that's simply a product of your own journey and where you've arrived at.
Well, probably could write another chapter about this question. But I am aware that I'm a powerful transmitter. But I am also keen to try and make something transferable as well as transmittable. So that I think there is so much mystery around it, but somehow, and this is going to be the kind of treasure that we haven't kind of quite unpacked yet, and that hopefully the apprenticeship will start to unpack, is how much can other people. They can't be Jenny. She's been doing it 33 years. Okay, so who can they be? And can what I can spark, transmit, train, I'm going to use that word, which I find so cold, but there will be an element of training as well. But I think I preferred the word apprenticeship because it does suggest that there is something here that is more than technique, ideas, concepts, and blah, blah. So there is Jenny the artist, and that is I've certainly had the privilege of having those transmissions from other people and found that they open something up in me that I could never have learned by, no matter how many scales, how many arpeggios, how many interpretive musical songs or scores I looked at. That was not going to happen just from that level. So, without being grandiose, I think apprenticeship is probably the right word for it. But as
Can
I
can
say,
I comment on Eleanor, because I was there when I saw your power come out. It was amazing. And I've had maybe just like 1 or 2 moments of that in personal sessions as well. And kind of my take on that in terms of is it it's like that transmission thing. But the interesting thing that I've personally come to the conclusion of is that we all have this inner power, and certain people activate it through their coaching and training and their presence. And if Jenny can consciously package the training, then we can embody ourselves better. And that is what I'm here to learn, is how to embody myself through her methodology and through her coaching and teaching and energy. And that's kind of how I see this path. And I know I have that within me, but I don't think, I'm not clear it's a vocal teaching I'm yet to transmit. But the methodology is so important for me to embody my own power at this stage in my journey, and really to reflect, why am I here and how do I own myself and not be afraid of what's within me. And I found that through the voice, this is the first time I've had that kind of alignment in a way that's quite profound and very quick.
Wow,
it's interesting, as well, because I've just realized that the transmission training, the tension between those things, or it's something that's alive for me in a different context, because the work that I do with children with learning disabilities, that comes the most authentically from me, is something that other people say, oh, I love this work that you do, but I don't think I could do that. And for me, I'm now presented with an opportunity to train, support other people, open an opportunity for them to, and so there's a real parallel interest for me in that question about actually how much am I transmitting in the work that I do, and what am I transmitting, and how much is about presence and space holding and what I do or who I am. And so so that's in just something for me to take away and reflect.
It's a lovely polarity to be dancing between those things, and I think if we can hold the conversation consciously, we've already come halfway to meeting those inquiries, and especially to name them as they are, rather than say, oh no, she's just a magician and nobody else can do that. So no, wait a minute, there's a conscious mix of things going on here, and we can try and, without inhibiting flow, name stuff a little bit.
Thank you.
And the word that always creeps up for me in this type of context of exploration is pervasive. And when I was studying social work and impact, it's like, you might not think that doing this over here will be pervasive over here, but all the learnings, it is pervasive in all domains of your life. So, doing art or sound or meditation, it will creep into other dimensions. And so that's kind of, for me, being conscious of that process is important.
That's a fantastic word. It actually reminds me of another little bit of texturing that I've been doing to do with thinking about how to run the individual sessions in the evening. Because you two have seen me do a sort of 4-hour session with a sort of a 2-hour slot in the afternoon with about 6-7 people, going through each person 10 minutes each with a bit of feedback from the group, and you get through half a dozen people in 2 hours. And I'm hoping we're going to have more than half a dozen people, and maybe we'll have 12. That would be my ideal. If we can get to 12, I'd be thrilled. We are sort of teetering around that kind of number with expressions of interest. So let's just hold that thought. But so how do you do that with 12 people? And if I may, I'll just share my screen, because I've come up with something which is very much about what you just said about pervasive, and as a way into looking at, and now it looks a little bit graphic, or like a spreadsheet at the moment, but just look at this for a moment and tell me what you think, because it's still being developed, really. So here we have the ideal 12 people. Here are their names, and here are the 12 roles, and you can run this sequence, 3 groups of 4 people each, on a 15-minute basis, each person as a soloist, 1-to-1 with Jenny, 15 minutes over one afternoon or one evening. So that's 3 hours. So you've got 12 people, 15 minutes each. That is 3 hours exactly. Or you can run it over 2 evenings and give each soloist half an hour each. So then you only do half the roles on one evening and the other half of the roles on the other evening. So I think it's a rather good beginning of a way. Now, obviously you've seen me work 1-to-1, you two, and Heather and Kathy. That is definitely a big part of my work, is doing 1-to-1 coaching. That is definitely 50% of the work. But look at all these other roles that I've discovered. Active supporter, there are 3 active supporters, and the active supporters are on stage, as it were, with the soloist. So there's one group of 4 people who are live and moving and vocalizing, 3 of them in support of the one. So if the one says, can you give me some rhythm, or can you give me a drone, or can you hold my back, or we don't know exactly what they're going to be doing, but they are there to support the soloist and begin in a way to start imagining themselves in my role, but up on the stage, as it were. I call it the stage, but you know what I mean, the workspace. So you have that's group 1, that's the yellows. Group 2 is a group that's watching, but they're watching in different contexts. So one of them will be witnessing all levels and present to the whole. So you're in role 2, you're witnessing all levels, present to the whole, you're quiet, you're just in that meditative space. Or if you're in role 4, which is part of group 2, you keep an eye on the time, absolutely vital. Or you're a caretaker, you're tending the whole space. Is it too hot? Do we need some more air? Is there washing up to be done? And then, or you're the registrar, which just means who's next, somebody has the computer and it just kind of tells the person who's doing the next bit, in terms of roles. And then there's group 3, which is also a quiet group watching the space, but you are either the deep listener, so it's slightly different from witnessing all levels. You're just working with listening, just listening, meditation on listening. Or you're in apprentice leader mode. What would I do? Or you're in apprentice artist mode. Who am I as an artist now? Or you're the soloist buddy. You're just completely present to them, tuning into them on every level. Now, each role you play either for 15 minutes or for 30 minutes, depending whether we're going through it over one evening of 3 hours or 2 evenings over 6 hours. And all of those roles, it occurs to me, are pervasive of each other. And how can I put this? I do all of them all the time at once. So I've divided myself into 12. I'm active supporter, soloist, buddy, apprentice artist, leader, registrar, caretaker, kind leader. You know, that's the complexity of what's going on in my head when I'm running the session, kind of split into 12 different roles so that you can practice each one for 15 minutes or half an hour at a time. What do you reckon?
I think based on what you're saying, this is brilliant that you're able to kind of download your brain into all this different things.
It came to me in a download, really. It was.
Yeah.
I was in a state of COVID fever. And out it came.
Well, I think it's absolutely brilliant. And it sounds like, given the depth that's going to come out, it's, for me, it seems like 30 minutes over 2 sessions would be a more productive way to structure it, so people get deep into, you know, at least have a longer duration of time to be able to, you know, get into and understand fully and experience that particular role. And there is something to be said, like, you know, as a participant and observer, when you actually see somebody else for a longer time processing that activity, you learn a lot, you know, through passive learning as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, whether 15 minutes is too short for one role. But if you think back to the Sunday afternoon session you've done, each one of you had about 15 minutes, and look how much journeying can get done in that 15 minutes. I mean, it can take quite big leaps. So I'm open to persuasion on this, definitely, whether to do, because we've got 5 evening sessions per module, where we can run this format as many times as we want, with tweaks and developments as we go along. Whether to do, you know, half an hour. So go through the format once over 2 days and then repeat over the next 2 days. Or do 2 lots of 15 minutes, so 1 day and 1 day, and then on the second section go through the format over 2 days. So you have 15, 15, and then you get 2 lots of 15 and 1 lot of 30. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking, but I hear what you're saying, Nancy, that it might be better to do 2 lots of 30 over 4 days each.
Or I'm just wondering, how would it work if it was 20 minutes? Then it'd be probably 3 days. Yeah.
Now you've thrown the spanner in my squares.
Sorry, I'm always going to be the outside of the box thinker that gives you an alternative permutation of things.
Let's come out. Yes. It's just a sketch, you know.
Yeah.
It's a starting point. But I bring it up because of the pervasiveness of, you know, while you're a deep listener, you may also be thinking, but who am I as an artist now? I bet you cross-fertilize, you know. If you're deep listening, you're going to be, who am I as an artist? Or if you're caretaking, you might be thinking, you know, I feel very present to the soloist at the moment. I feel like the buddy soloist. You know, so it's just going to be completely doing that all the time. But if you start off with your function and your role, this is my starting point for this next sequence. I think it could be a way to include everybody all the time during the individual work and give everybody a taste of multiple roles.
Yeah.
That was kind of the idea.
I think now that you say it, because it is the first time, maybe it might be worth doing the 15-15 and then half an hour. That sounds like a good kind of introductory kind of testing trial.
You know what I was actually thinking was we did 1:15 on the Monday and then do the Wednesday and Thursday with the half an hours and then go back on Wednesday and Friday and then go back on the Sunday to another 15. So, you know, that would be like bookending with 15s and then the half an hour in the middle. So that's another structure you could use, which came to me as a kind of give everybody a taste, then do a deep dive and then come back for an aha moment at the end.
Yeah,
I would say it's just to kind of hold that, because like, you know, when you teach yoga, you adjust based on your participants after the feedback. Sorry, Eleanor.
Just I like the idea of taster first, then deep dive, because I think, I mean, when you're in the soloist role, 10 minutes doesn't sound very long, but it can feel like a very long time. And I think all those, well, not all of them, I'm being timekeepers, not very demanding, is it? But things, you know, deep listening and so on, I think they are things that take practice, and that it might be hard to hold initially for any length of time. I think things like that, just like meditating, take practice to develop being able to be in that place for a length of time. And it would be better to have a shorter time and feel that it'd been successful than to have a longer space initially where your mind's not on the job, basically, or you're, you know.
Yeah, I think it's possibly a bit much just to start straight off with the half an hour.
Yeah.
But this is also something I thought about. After you've done your soloist, you go into role 2, where you go completely to the opposite end, which is witness the whole. Then you get a deep listen, and then you get a time. So you actually, once you've done your soloist, you're actually sort of really returning to source for these two, and then just very practical. And so you get 5 roles, which is like, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes, where you're just back in yourself, really, with yourself. And then you jump back out again for role 7 in your consciousness to what would I do, you know. So you get recovery time after soloist in these other layers of yourself, which are not stressful, while you can process what's happened. So you've got that period, and then role 7, you start to kind of look more critically at what I'm doing and think about yourself as well and what you do, and then it gets more active in the second half. So you just run round that cycle. Let me come out of here now. Yeah, well, that's a lovely initial kind of thumbs up to that idea, actually, because that's still just coming through. So thank you so much for that feedback from you two. Anything from Heather or Kathy? I haven't heard from you for a while.
Not on that. I think I'm just taking quite a listening role. I'm looking forward to experiencing this in January, so thank you for doing the workshop, because it feels like I need to do that before diving in. But no, that made sense in terms of the order, and
yeah, I mean, we've ended up talking about quite a lot of things to do with the structure, the form, the concept of the whole thing, having started in a more well, we started with some other layers of sharing as well, so we could maybe open out again now to other layers. Just to say, I suppose that in a way, these kind of weaves that I've been starting to build, I'm hoping are going to really sort of hold a space that will allow the formless to work with us, you know. So the forms and the formless are there both together.
Can I ask, Jenny, I watched the replay of the last Zoom cafe thing, and you mentioned you might not offer this again, and I was wondering where you're up to with that thought process, because I'm trying to judge, you know, where I am with this and the time and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, just going back to what Nancy said about I'm not ready, but I might be in a year or two. This is what you were implying, Nancy. I'm just not sure. I'm just like breath by breath. I mean, I'd love it to, you know, that's the ambition that says I'm going to do 5 trainings in the next 5 years and it's going to be wonderful. Hello. Let's just try and get this one working and see if I can actually get a group together. You know, I'm still at that stage. I haven't had one application yet, you know. So I have no idea who's going to apply or anything. So it's really a leap of faith for me. I mean, it does feel like, in a way, the culmination of something that's probably been cooking inside me for 25, 30 years, you know. And it's like, I was thinking about when I did my training with Paul Newham in the 90s, and he was 31 years old. I was 32 years old. And, you know, I was just thinking, you know, he had all the right pedagogy, but he was just not sorted in himself at all. And it was crazy what happened, you know. And that's another story, but I shouldn't really talk about that. But, you know, and that's why I haven't done anything, because I've needed to really get myself sorted out before I felt it was safe to offer something which goes into these very deep spaces with people. And, you know, there is a sort of sense of, I have lots of experiences. Part of me thinks, oh, you know, am I going to be too ill to run it? You know, I've got anxiety around it as well, you know. And then there's also, this could be, you know, the start of something that is really a flowering for me, and that I go on to run it several times. And what I would love to do, you know, if you let me go into my fantasies, is bring the people with me who've done the apprenticeship in the first year and, you know, expand and draw on their expertise and their takes on how they're evolving as individuals in their own right, and let them run some sessions and, you know, make it this wonderful, you know, of course the dream goes on and on. So here I just have to remind myself that it's work, it's proper work, step by step, and I can't give you a promise about anything. If my health's going to hold up, God knows, you know, the whole thing is totally precarious on one level. So it's absolutely in the lap of the gods, and you know, just holding that faith. Not completely watertight, I'm afraid.
Sounds good though.
Well, you know, if we can get through one, then there will be other people, you know, and then it begins to be, we hold each other through moving forward. I won't be on my own with it. I won't be holding it on my own anymore. And that will give me a sense of, you know, the pressure's off. I do feel a certain pressure to do it, you know, internally, spiritually. It's like, this has to happen now. So I am being driven by some force.
Jenny, can you remind me of the dates of the January workshop?
It's just one on the 8th at 2 o'clock till 6 o'clock.
And where is it?
It's in Crouch End in my live workspace.
Okay. And how much again?
47.
How much? Sorry?
£47.
47. I'll be there.
Okay. How are we doing? Well, we're just on 9 o'clock. We just take a moment to just sort of drop in and go quiet and just see if there's anything else that wants to be said from me or from any of you? Okay, anything coming through? Yep. I can't hear you. You're unmuted.
The one thing that's come through for me is that there's a reason why we're all here. And I'm not too sure what it is, but it's definitely to support each other's growth and set the foundation of what's to come. That's what came through.
That sounds promising. What came through for me was to say something a little bit more about the practice clients, those generous souls who are willing to offer themselves up for your educational expansion. And who are they? And how can we find them? And can we spread the word and try and get these people, these good people? And so if you are going to apply, and you have someone, maybe you have one or two people in mind who you think I'd love to suggest it to them. They might be a really good person for me to work with. They trust me, or I feel safe with them, or I think it's going to be group generated, this list of practice clients. I will put it on my Facebook page. I will email, and my list and say who wants to do it. But I think it will largely be, well, a mixture, sourced from me and sourced from the group. Yeah. That was what came up for me. Anybody else?
I got yes. Interested. Yes. Look into it deeper.
Right. Lovely. Okay. Well, if that's everything, I feel I'm leaving Heather in a slightly quizzical space.
Oh no.
Slightly unresolved.
No, I just have thoughts running through me, which I can share, but I didn't feel the need to. So.
Oh, go on.
Oh god.
Reverse well.
Oh god. Okay, I was still a bit. I was thinking I was grateful to Eleanor in the beginning for articulating also some of my interest and where I'm going. And actually, I've been singing with Eleanor, so some of the experience as well with improvisation. And my personal thought was around spiritual practice and this practice and my would I call it spiritual practice? I don't know. Well-being practice has been cyclical around my menstrual cycle, and this week in particular has really brought it home that I'm in perimenopause and I need to realign my practice with that. And I feel that I want to mark my menopause journey with a kind of a change of practice, and I'm wondering how this fits, or how this could fit with that for me. A commitment to something that feels in alignment. Sorry, I'm not articulating this very well. It's kind of forming as it comes out. So yeah.
That's nice. I can feel something really buzzing. And what Nancy was saying, it seemed to start buzzing as Nancy was saying something about supporting each other. And that may have triggered that sequence for you. I don't know.
Combination of things, yeah.
Well, we won't pin anything down, and we'll just let that float beautifully. And thank you for sharing it. And there's something about the voice and transformation and the reclaiming of our femininity on all levels, including the dark feminine, that this work is very embracing of, and you know, casual with almost. It's like, yeah, of course. So the full feminine at all stages can be voiced, and I think in its voicing, it is a fertile reclaiming of our, you know, our power, our energy, our life stages, our wholeness, our grief, our letting goes, our sheddings. It can all be put through the vocal Tai Chi journey. And I think that does bode well for community healing and for individual sanctification. Yeah. You get me going, I start thinking it's the answer to life. So yeah, better stop there.
Well, just to add one point to that is because, you know, I work with a lot of Indigenous communities, and the first line of medicine is your word, which is your voice. And it's a type of medicine that most people are not aware of, or they abuse the power of the word. And you see that a lot with politicians, businessmen, you know, corruption. So I think there is innately something very powerful. I just don't know how to harness my own voice, and what you say really, really does resonate. Yeah.
Well, it's in a way, it's a slightly innocuous title, vocal Tai Chi. It sounds like we could all be just sort of going ooh, ooh, ah, ee. And in fact, vocal Tai Chi does have sounds like and is that what it means? You know, you would have no idea if you just looked at the tin what was inside the tin. But maybe that's not a bad thing, you know. Maybe you have to be one of these people who gets a sense of something that's being hinted at but can't be described just in a title. You know? So we're sticking with it, ladies. We're sticking with it for now. That's the title. I did think at one point maybe I should call it Voice Life Practice. I thought, oh, it's far too generic. So yeah, for good or not, it is there. We're running with it.
Well, it dragged me in.
Drag, I hope it's not the operative verb, but through, maybe.
Through, yes, but no, drag.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know why I used the word, but it certainly, I mean, it brought me in with some force, pulled me in. Okay, it came in from a place of power. Tai Chi for me is power. Dragged me in.
Okay, stick with drag then. Yeah. Okay, let's wrap there, my friends. Happy season's ending, and let me, you know, book in if you want to come to the workshop. Drop me an email or send me a message, and I'll give you the bank details, and meet you on the 8th here in Crouch End. And yeah, bye.
Okay, bye.
Everyone, bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.